So you can see you tap on that and you got access. Why do they need to be able to control the front passenger seat? I know there's some use cases for these things. Well, you can just click on child lock right there. I'm just telling you right now, make your life easier and just remove these two screws. Today, we're installing the biggest screen in the back of my Tesla Model 3 that I have ever installed. And this one has a pretty good chance of actually staying in there. And here's why. Two reasons. First reason, 8.66 inches. Huge screen, by far the biggest I've seen yet. And look at the vents. Lots of air. Now, big vents doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get good air, so we're gonna test that out later, but it does have potential. And up until this point, I've had to take every screen out of my car because my kids say they just simply get too hot and it's just not keeping up with the heat. So like with my other videos, we'll test out the air using my daughter's pom-pom fronds I stole from her cheerleading things and see how good it is. Now this unit was sent to me by a company called Tez Studios, and I'll put all their information below this video in the description as well as a discount and all that stuff. But what I like so far about these guys is that they gave you both wiring harnesses. So let me talk about what that means. So when you order anything like this online, you're gonna select whether you have the AMD or the Intel processor in your car. But then there's still a difference in wiring harnesses that you may have to use. And that comes back to whether or not you have the blue OBD port connector in your rear console or not. If you do have the blue, which most cars do, for example, today we're going to be installing this in my 2019 Model 3, and it does. If you do have that blue, you're going to use one wiring harness that we'll go through in a minute. If you don't have the blue OBD port, you're going to use the other wire harness that they provide in the box with it, and that connects at the front door pillar on the passenger side, and we've done a lot of installs there. It's a very easy port to access. You also get this. This is a USB-C cap connector thing. Basically what this is doing is capping off your USB-C ports in the back because we're not going to need the plug that's there currently for this new unit. It's kind of like all encapsulated in one, which is again unique. And if we didn't put this on, then your front USB-C ports, or in my case USB-A ports, as well as your wireless charger will not work. So very important to put this on, but of course I'll show you where to do that. So with the wiring harness, we have a few connections here. The first one is going to be your regular OBD relay. I think they call it like a Y connector or something like that. I think if you go like this, it makes a Y. Then as we go down the wiring harness, we see this next connection here. And right here we have two different types of connectors. This one right here is one we're going to actually plug into the screen where it's going to get all of its information. Let's see if we can get that focus there. Yeah. This other one we're not going to actually end up using. I believe it's for future updates or something like that, but it doesn't need to be plugged in. Then as we continue to go down the wire, going, lots of room here, you have two different connections. You have this connection with this sort of white and black wire, and this is one that goes to your lumbar support or massage if you have that inside of your car. If you don't have it or don't want to use it, then don't plug it in. I don't have it in any of my cars, so we won't be using that. But the other one on the more thick wire, much thicker than the other one, this is going to go over to your seat controls on the passenger side up front. So they give you lots of wire for that. And again, it's optional. You don't have to actually install this to get the screen in the back. And maybe you don't want the people in the back having control of that seat, so you can just decide to skip this. But we're gonna install it just to show you where to go. Now, it's my understanding that this screen is supposed to be a lot better as far as the operating system, what you can do with it, play some games. Supposedly, you can even connect a gaming controller and play games in the back seat on this, which of course, we're gonna test out. All right, install time. Watch how easy this is. Step one, going in here, taking off this panel on the back. We may have to remove your floor mats if you have them. Might get in the way, but they provide you with this pry tool. You can use this, but you may not actually need to. Mine's come off so many times from installing different things that I can just sort of grab it and pull it. All right, come take a look at this. This is that blue OBD port I'm talking about. So if yours is blue, you're gonna use the wiring harness that I'm using right now, the smaller of the two. If yours is not blue, use the other one that goes to the front right pillar or the front OBD port up there. And so here's all we're gonna do. First thing is I'm gonna disconnect this by just pressing, pulling that out. Now I currently have other accessories attached to this port back here. These are my Tesla buttons, the ones that look like little Cybertrucks. And so I can either take this off and just not use it, or you can just connect right onto it like this and then plug it on in there. The problem, of course, is as you start accumulating multiple different accessories, being able to put your case back on here, the piece you took off, very quickly diminishes. But we'll plug the rest of this in after we finish connecting the wire up through this part right here. Now the next step is to remove this cap in the back, your vent back here, including the USB-A ports or USB-C ports, depending on which car you have. Now you can do this in any other order. This is just the order I'm doing it in. You just grab them both sides and you pull. It comes off very easily. Now I have the USB-A ports in my car, so yours is going to look a little different than this. If you have the USB-C, which is what we have in our Model Y, it's a little clip you kind of lift and pull. This one you got to kind of pinch and pull in the middle, and it'll come right on out. Now before we go on, I want to point something out here. The next step is going to be to install the wires that actually connect to the screen. So we're going to basically route them up through the column here and come out right here in this whole area, and then we're going to plug them in. And I had mentioned earlier that I didn't really know what this one's for. I'd never seen that before, and here's the thing. There actually is a spot to plug it in on the screen. Let me show you. So here's the wire right here that's going to connect to the wiring harness, the black one. But over here on the side, there's this little port over here, and I don't know what it does, but it is a spot for this plug to go. So we'll connect it all in there and make sure everything is good. So now if you do have USB-C in your car, this is where you'd want to put in this cap to make sure that you don't screw up the whole front setup. But because I don't have that in mine, we will not be using this. This is what it looks like inside of a car with the USB-C. You can see that that clip is much bigger and that will actually fit on there. And I don't have anything special for USB-A, and I'm not nearly smart enough to know how the electronics work on any of this stuff. So I'm assuming you don't need to cap off the one. We'll find out soon. Okay, now in theory, yes, you can run these wires up underneath it here. There are little gaps that you can kind of fish them through and everything, but I'm just telling you right now, make your life easier and just remove these two screws and get it done that way. You'll need a T20 tip like this. Then you just pull out. And you only really need one side. I mean, if one side just comes detached like mine just did, just leave it. You can still pop it right back in, no problem. Then all I have to do, just wrap the wires around there, pull them out the top, snap it back in, all done. I guarantee you, if you try to fish those through there, you're gonna spend 8-10 times that amount of time, and you might say some unpleasant words. From there, just go back and plug in the relay, get the power up there, relay, wire harness, whatever you want to call it, get that plugged in. Then you can take the wire that goes to the actual moving of the seat and tuck it underneath here, so we can tuck it kind of down in here and run it under the seat over to where the controls are for the seat on the passenger side up front. These other ones to the lumbar or massage, I guess just tuck them somewhere, maybe down under here out of the way. Next, before I put anything away or snap any parts back on, I'm going to plug the screen in and make sure we have power. First, I'm going to get this white guy on there, and I would say slight lesson learned on this. You definitely want to plug this in before you connect it down below to the OBD, because you need a little bit of wire slack in order to do this. Otherwise, it gets quite tight. Gosh, finally. Oh my word, I made that so much more difficult than it needed to be. Then connect the second wire, the black wire here, and that should be everything. And we should have power come. There it is. There's the power. Okay, now for the wire that's going to go to control the front seat, it's very important that you don't put it anywhere on the track here. You don't want it to get pinched. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and run it up here and across the front seat and over that way. Just kind of tuck it down into the cushion and run it down along that way over to the connection on this side. Now, right up under here, there is actually a screw that you can unscrew here that'll take off the side panel and make it easier to get to. It's like way up in there, and the plug you're trying to get to is right there. That's the one you want. You're just going to disconnect that and put in that relay right there to connect it. So you could just take it like this and just use your fingers to get it down in there. But I'm not going to actually connect this in my car because my kids are in the back and I do not want them having that kind of access back there. But it's super easy to do. I mean, a little tedious, but it's just connected right there and you're good to go. So anyway, that's how you do it if you want it. And so one thing you can do with the wires, if you decide not to connect them, as I am not at the current moment, is you can just tuck them underneath your floor mat like I did here. They're just tucked underneath, or stick them down inside this hole here, whichever you have room for. Then we got to put these two screws back on and re-snap on the lower panel. Right, now that we have the screen installed, what do you guys think? Pretty cool, huh? Especially when you got them lined up with that front screen. It looks quite nice. All right, now as soon as your screen powers up, it's going to look like this, except for yours is going to be in Chinese. And the way to fix that right away, because you're not going to be able to really read the different apps and know how to navigate to it, is to come in here to these four squares, which is going to bring up all of your different apps. You're going to click on the gear, which is going to be a little settings icon there. And then you're going to go down to this very bottom one here with the three little dots, and it says more settings. You won't see that, but that's what it is. Once you click on that, you're going to go to the second option down, which is language and input. And from there, you're going to click on language settings. And what you're going to do is you can't just click on it. You have to actually drag it to the top. So you can kind of move around different ones of these here. So you're going to click on the English and just make sure it's on the very, very top. After that, when you hit the home button again, everything's going to be in English. Now, the way you set this up, it's kind of interesting. There's a lot to this, and in my opinion, there's too much to it as far as options and customization, because it doesn't always work together really well, and it can get really confusing. And after spending time with this is the setup that I've decided to stay on, which is your original screen. And so let me kind of show you what you have here. So the first one here is just all your basic. You got fan speed, you got temperature over here on this side, you have auto and power in the middle there. Down here you have some of your different settings like keep, dog, camp in child lock mode. And child lock mode's kind of nice because if you do have people in the back seat like children and you don't want them messing around with your settings and turning on music and all that, well, you can just click on child lock right there, and then you have to input your password in order for the screen to be active again. And the default password to get rid of it is 8687. Now that's really nice because if you do have kids in the back and you want to set the temperature and you don't want them constantly changing it, you can then just tap that, and you can see like right now I can adjust the temperature and all, but if I tap that, all of a sudden now nothing is movable on here. So that's really great. Also, they're allowing you to do a lot more customization in terms of like what you want to actually stare at here, but you got to be kind of careful because if you want to continue using these, then you have to keep this default home screen. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If I press and hold, it pops up these different options we can have for home screens here, and there's 52 options to choose from. There's a lot of them, and to be honest, some of them seem to work, other ones don't really seem to work as much. Well, they do work. It's just a matter of you need to go into your settings and make sure everything is tweaked properly. Tap away to select it. And what I mean by that is to get the navigation working, you got to have your stuff all logged in and set up for that. Same thing with music and all these other apps. And the thing is, when this is up right here and you've chosen a different home screen, these buttons turn off. So it would be kind of nice, just to keep things not confusing, is if I'm going to have two of these same buttons on here, this one no longer works. None of these buttons will work any longer. It'd be nice if it would just like turn the light off of these, but maybe that's asking for too much. But I can access all the apps by clicking on the screen and then using the home button up there, but none of these are active. These are only assigned to the original home button way over here at number 52, I believe it is. Yep, right there. And then we're over here to the default, and then we can use all of our stuff on there. Now, you also do have Android Audio and CarPlay, so my car is set up with CarPlay right now, so you can see you tap on that, and you got access to all of this here. Again, same thing, if you don't want your kids to use it, you can go back and turn on that child lock. I'm not sure how to do that from the other desktops, but certainly from the one that we have on option 52, the default one, you can. And when we listen to music right through the system, it actually sounds pretty good. It does play straight through this. You can connect things with Bluetooth devices to this as well, but you do get all those nice controls. And if you're like my son, he loves to watch for cops and things on the road and accidents and log them in Waze, so it's a way to keep your kid entertaining. So I open up the Waze app here using CarPlay, and my kids can go in and kind of watch all that. It's kind of fun. So to get back to your main settings, just hit car, and it's going to go back to this here. Now, a lot of these apps you may not really use, like your gallery or file manager or Bluetooth music, really, even a lot of this, it's not going to do much for the people back here unless you have music that you've actually like input and saved on here. But some of the apps they may use are like Netflix and YouTube when you're going down the road. But you can actually access all those right here through your little video button. When you press that, you have to actually be at home. When you press that, then you pulls up all your different viewing options. I do find it kind of interesting how with certain apps you can press these different buttons and it will switch between. But when you're doing other things, they don't. They like turn off or something. So anyway, whatever. You can also play games here. So you can go to the Play Store and you can download different games or different apps for the Android device here. Or you can play the default game they have on here called the King of Fighters. And so one thing you can do is you can plug in a gaming controller like this right here to the USB-C port. Because the USB-C is connected right through all of this, you can plug that in here just like that. And I'm going to go into resume a game because I was already kicking some tail on this earlier. Check this out. Jump, jump. Oh boy, I'm getting beat real bad right now. Oh, I got like dead instantly. I didn't even touch her. One thing that is a little annoying about the ability to change the desktop or the wallpaper or the screen or home screen or whatever you want to call it is you do press and hold to bring it up, right? So if I press and hold here, it's going to bring it up. But when you just try to adjust things, kind of like even your volume sometimes, if you just press and do it just wrong, it pops up and kind of gets in the way too, which I find a little bit annoying, but you just got to kind of learn what pressures to put on there and you can get past that pretty easily. So we have climate control on the left-hand side here. Then next to it, you have these seat controls where you can press on it and adjust the different seats, and you can turn them on full. You can adjust them to different levels as well, and the third click turns them off completely. So people in the back now can actually have full control with their different seating options. And I mean, they've had it with other screens too, but this is also provided with this option, with this screen. And if I press close all, it should turn them all off. Yep. Now they can turn mine on, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, because that's going to be a prank. My kids turn on me all the time. So definitely don't tell your kids what the code is for locking this screen. Next, you have a little picture of the seat right here, and this is where you can actually move the seats around or adjust the massage, and that's what those other wires were that we had there. I'm not 100% sure why people in the back seat need to have that kind of control. I've never quite understood that with these programs, but this is where you can have it. If you, for whatever reason, want to mess with your mother in the front seat, well, you can turn on massage or turn them off, move it forward and back. It's kind of cool, but I still just can't wrap my head around why my kids should have that kind of power. So mine aren't connected right now. But if you have a reason for it, you can do it. And apparently you can open up the glove box. I swear we're giving our children too much power these days. Next over is music. This is just giving them the ability to control music played from this machine. So if they have music they're playing, whether they're listening to, whether you're plugging in like a USB with music on it, or however you're getting music loaded on it, you can control it there. Of course, next is all of your apps. Then you have your video, and then you have your settings over here. Now you'll notice you have these different options up here on the top. You can press the arrows up here and make the menu bar go away. You can just tap it again or pull down for them to come back. You have your home button that'll get you back to this screen right here. And if you pull down from the top, you have your quick controls like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. And if I turn on Wi-Fi right there, it should connect to Wi-Fi, and now it says it's connected to my house, and it's reflected right there, so we know we're connected. Now, what you just saw is one of the issues that you have to kind of pick and choose from. You see, right now the phone is connected to my phone using CarPlay. And when it's connected over CarPlay, it's using my internet, it's using all that in order to run CarPlay, so it can't connect to the Wi-Fi for other apps. So this is why I say you have to it's either like a CarPlay device, which doesn't give you, ways to watch anything at the moment. I don't see anything on here that allows them to watch anything. YouTube's not on here, and I'm not familiar enough with the CarPlay to know if there's a way to add it, but you have to kind of choose. So for me then to turn on Wi-Fi so they can watch YouTube and stuff, using the connection with my phone like a hotspot, I have to disconnect Wi-Fi or disconnect CarPlay, which is fine. I'm totally okay with that, but just know you can't kind of have both. It's like CarPlay or all the other apps in terms of Wi-Fi connection. So now that I've gone and disconnected CarPlay link from my phone, now I can go in here to things like YouTube, and I can tap on a little bit of Tom and Jerry, and it's actually quite quick. Of course, this depends a lot about your connection, and you have that there. You can skip this ad and see how Jerry is going to escape. Now what you just saw right there was my screen turned completely off, and here's why. The screen up front turned off. So when that front screen powers off, so does the screen in the back. So I just open my door, close it again, and the screen will turn back on. And it took about 45 seconds to be off and then power completely back on again and get the Wi-Fi and everything all reconnected. So that's pretty quick. And also I can sync this to my phone. So if I'm in the car driving around, I want my kids to watch a movie back here or go on YouTube, they can do that with a hotspot right to my phone. So overall, the interface is very simple. The majority of what at least my kids are going to be using are going to be things like YouTube, games, get on Android Auto or the Play Store here, download some more apps for them to actually use and game and stuff back here, which would be really fun. Maybe you can find some like puzzle apps or some coloring apps and stuff like that for the kids in the back. I really like how they can control their seating temperatures. I'm not too big of a fan how they can control ours, but then again, they probably can't segregate that. But the big question is, how good do these vents actually work? If you remember at the beginning of this video, I said the reason why so many people don't like these is because, well, one, they can be really kind of clunky, which this one appears to be working pretty well, but they also didn't vent very well, and it kind of voided the whole comfortability of the people in the back seat. So we're going to do the actual test here to see how much air is actually coming out of this vent. So let's do it. First up, let's power it on. And I can see here that it says it's at level fan speed 6 at 69 degrees temperature, but nothing's coming out yet. And that's because I have it turned off up front. So I guess we have to have it on up front for it to actually work back here, which would make sense. So I'm gonna turn that on up there. And now, oh my gosh. Yeah, you can really feel that. So this is on level 6, okay? So let's see, it's blowing. So the way these vents are structured, they actually angle up at the person, not straight out. So if I put it down low like this, you see there's really no movement down here at all. But as I come up, you can see it starts to really start blowing. And even up here higher, you can see there's a lot of movement there. And that's at level 6 fan speed. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. Now let's move up to level 10. And you can hear it really kick on. And look at that. It's standing straight up. Wow. There is no lack of air there. Jeepers. My kids are going to love that. And of course, you can angle this. Like you can see in the middle now, there's very little. Come over to this side, and it's blowing hard. In the middle here, much less. Over here, you can see that it works pretty darn well. Wow. My kids are going to love this. However, one thing that is kind of interesting, even though the fan is just blowing like crazy, is this is saying it's at 0. It's like a little bit of a glitch when it's not. Even though the reason why it powered up really high, as you guys saw, was because I moved it to 10, but it's only displaying 0. So let's see if we move it to 5. See, it does. You can hear it. It powered down, but it's not displaying it. So maybe a software update will fix whatever sort of... Okay, so I guess I just figured it out. I had it set to off. That was, I guess, the issue. I had it like this. So that's why I was at 0. Okay, so like right now there's nothing coming out. But if I power this on, then the number comes up here and is displaying properly. Interesting. So if I slide this, up, you suck, to 7. Okay, now it stays there. And you hear the fan kick on and it picks back up again. And yes, it is adjusting it all over the car, not just back here. Okay, which is why we have this child lock. And so right now, if I were to power this off, there it goes. It shuts off the air here. So it is still going up front, but it is no longer going back here. So the kids do have their own separate controls that actually works. Love that. So kind of some final thoughts on the screen. I have a love-hate relationship with this. There's parts about this that I really like. I love that they have good control over their environment and their climate back here. I love that they got entertainment. I love that they can sit back here and download games from the App Store and they can play on it with a controller, and that all seems to work really well. And the things that I don't like, it's just like, it's like nothing really wrong with the machine itself or the screen. It's more like what I don't like because I just don't get it. I don't get why they need control of the glove box. It's almost like, are you just trying to fit as many options and buttons on things as possible? Maybe they want the people in the back to be the concierge service, and I can be in the front and go, hey, Devin, open up my glove box. Opens up for me. Why do they need to be able to control the front passenger seat? I know there's some use cases for these things. I just can't think of what they are. But they left enough in the screen to where you can really pick how you want to use the screen. Are you going to be a CarPlay or Android Auto person? And if that's the case, then it's going to automatically connect to your phone. It did it pretty much flawlessly. I never had it once not connect as soon as I got into the car and tested it. And then that's what you use. And, you know, CarPlay is the thing. The other apps, they're not going to work because you need to be on Wi-Fi, and it won't connect to Wi-Fi if it's using your phone for Android Auto or CarPlay. At least it didn't for me. Maybe you guys know a secret. Or do you not use CarPlay and have the kids use other apps like YouTube and Netflix? But again, that would have to be streamed from your phone. The ventilation is perfect. It's actually an improvement over the way it comes straight from the factory. It's shooting straight up towards the person, and you're getting more pressure. And of course, the installation process, as you guys saw, is incredibly simple, very fast. You don't need to have any sort of experience or be an electrician or a rocket scientist to install this. Oh, and check this out. You got the day, date, and time on there as a default screen, so that's pretty nice. So for those of you guys who kind of follow along on these screens and maybe you've installed 1 or 2 of them in your own vehicles, let me know if you think this is an upgrade. Going from 7 and some inches up to 8.6 inches is a pretty nice jump, and the ventilation, oh, so good. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. And of course, if you guys want something like this, well, there'll be a link down there for you to go spend your money on as well. And now, what's coming up next? Take a look at this. Down here underneath of my desk, we've got 3 new installs coming up here. Well, where am I? There I am. We're gonna be testing out and installing the new Cybertruck wheel inside of my Model 3. Right now I have the yoke in there, but you can see we've gone through quite a few different wheels and tested them out here. So I am very curious to see how this new wheel is going to feel, as well as we've got some new tail lights that are sick that we're gonna be putting on my wife's Model Y that are gonna go really well with that massive spoiler we just put on there, and a few others coming up. So make sure you guys stick around for those videos. Thanks for watching. As always, look forward to your comments, well, some of your comments, and we'll see you on the next one.